Welcome. The United Kingdom is not willing to risk losing the lives of its citizens and urges them to get out of Tunisia. Then a general in Burundi appears determined to oust President Nkurunziza, accusing him of dividing the nation. And later on, despite his arrest, Uganda's former Prime Minister says he will not back down in his preparations for a presidential bid. You're welcome to Network Africa right here on Channels Television with me, Cynthia Are. Topping our news today is Tunisia. The United Kingdom is convinced that its citizens are far from safe in the country and is urging them to return home to the United Kingdom. This is coming few weeks after the Sousse resort massacre, which left over 30 people dead, most of them British tourists.
While we do not have any information suggesting a specific or imminent threat, since the attack in Sousse, the intelligence and threat picture has developed considerably, leading us to the view that a further terrorist attack is highly likely. The Tunisian investigation into those behind the Sousse attack and that on the Bardo Museum earlier this year is ongoing, and the Tunisians have made clear they want to track down further individuals who they suspect may have links to this attack. Furthermore, we have now completed an assessment of the security measures in tourist areas. And while we are working with the Tunisian authorities to further strengthen those measures, we judge that more work is needed to effectively protect tourists from the terrorist threat. Taking all these factors together, we judge it is right and prudent to make this change today. We have not taken this decision lightly, but our first priority will always be the safety of our citizens.
British Foreign Secretary Mr. Philip Hammond. While Britons in Tunisia wasted no time after getting that warning, they were up and out almost immediately. Most of them headed for Afinda airport in Tunisia this morning as they prepared to leave the country in their masses.
So it's been difficult, but you know, it's a pity, and we feel for the Tunisian people because it's their livelihood. You know, the hotel is now empty. It's been empty for the last 3 or 4 days. As little as 5 or 6 people. It's terrible. But you have no choice. We have to go home. Even though we made the choice to come, because these people shouldn't be allowed to ruin the country and its tourism. But now we have no choice. If we don't go home, the British government won't fly us home after Sunday. You stop at your own risk. It was our choice to come. We were happy with the security. We paid for the holiday. We were given that option beforehand. We would have preferred to stay. We've paid for the holiday. Now we have no compensation. Thomas Cook have been very poor. No communication. The reps at the hotel have been good. But the Thomas Cook in England is terrible.
The day of the shooting we arrived, we decided to stay and have 2 weeks holiday. We've been out and about, not stayed in the hotel.
We didn't find it dangerous at all.
No.
The police were there and that's it, they'd done their job and that was it. It was no problem with nothing, you know.
Well, we're joined by security expert Dr. Ona Ekomu, who is right here in Lagos. Dr. Ekomu, thank you very much for your time again today.
Thank you, madam.
Now, what are your thoughts on this move made by the United Kingdom asking its citizens to leave Tunisia?
Well, I think it's a prudent move on the part of the British authorities. Apparently, from what you showed the British Foreign Secretary saying, there has been a lot of efforts to strengthen security around tourists in Tunisia, particularly foreign tourists. But whatever actions have been taken so far have not met the stringent requirements of the British authorities to ensure the safety of their citizens. So I think it's a very prudent move. Now, Tunisia, unfortunately, has gotten some very bad press recently. The Sousse attack, and then before that, the Bardo National Museum attack.
Yes.
And these have resulted in a lot of fatalities. And I think it is a measure on the part of the British government, and it is something that will perhaps, in fact, put more pressure on the Tunisian authorities to ensure that they do more to combat the jihadi threat that is beginning to ruin its tourism-based economy.
Well, Dr. Ekum, Ireland has also given similar advice to its citizens as the United Kingdom, but the German government is not in as much of a hurry as those two countries. My question to you is now, could this be a false alarm?
Well, it depends on the abundance of caution a government wants to take in respect to protection of its citizens. Perhaps the German intelligence agencies have more information about, the relatively high safety of German citizens in Tunisia. But I think you have to understand that England has to be shell-shocked because they lost 30 citizens in that 37 citizen massacre that occurred at Sousse. So the number was quite great. This is more than half the number of persons they lost in the 7/7/2005 attack in London.
Yes.
And for a country like that, that's not used to losing citizens in such large numbers, it's quite traumatic. And in fact, the Prime Minister has had to answer questions in Parliament about the attack that took place in Sousse. So I think it is out of an abundance of caution that this directive is being given to British citizens and Irish citizens.
Yes.
And perhaps, like I said, the Germans are maybe a little tougher, or maybe they know what we don't know. And I think it should be acknowledged, too, that the Tunisian authorities are not, they've not gone to sleep. They are really working around the clock. They've arrested persons that were involved in that, collaborators that were involved in that attack. They are building a wall between Tunisia and Libya. I mean, they have been very proactive because they know that this is going to hurt quite a bit if the terrorists or if the tourists all live in large droves.
Well said. Well, Dr. Ekumu, thank you for your time and your explanation. As always, we appreciate your input right here on Network Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, still to come on Network Africa. Despite his arrest, Uganda's former Prime Minister, Amama Mbabazi, says he will not back down in his preparations for a presidential bid. Please stay with us.